Hi, everyone. Laura from Nanny Parent Connection here. I'm with a very special guest today. This is Michelle Kelsey from the Nanny Solution. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, I am so excited about this. This is one video I've been waiting to do, and it just so happens I decided that this would be a fun time to do it with a guest. So this is awkward nanny solutions and how to handle them. Now, the fun part in all of this, everyone, is that Michelle has no idea what these awkward scenarios are. She's slightly terrified.
Very terrified, yeah.
But the reason I chose to do it this way is that I really just want to get her honest reaction, because some of these are a little mundane. They happen. Some of them you'll be like, I cannot believe this is an actual scenario. And these, by the way, are actual scenarios from some of my clients that they've shared with me. So I'm going to leave the best one for last. So make sure you don't tune out from the video early, because you'll get the best one there at the very end. But we'll go ahead and we'll get started. I have 6 different scenarios and we will dive in. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
So the first scenario is that dad needed to move the nanny's car. And the nanny said, you can't, because I have to blow into the ignition. So she had gotten a DUI at some point recently.
Okay.
And so I don't know if this happened like before or after a background check would have been run, but the nanny was working. She got a DUI. She obviously didn't disclose. And now the family knows, because dad can't actually move her car without blowing into the ignition interlock.
Yes.
So how would you handle this?
Oh my goodness. Okay. In this case, I would guess they didn't do a background check. That would be my first guess. So the first thing always is you always have to do a background check. I think in one of my videos, I talk about a friend who hired a nanny, had her driving for her children, and same thing, they had a DUI or didn't have a driver's license.
Okay.
And so the car was towed and she had to go pick up her children from the side of the road. So it does happen. And this was a friend of mine who didn't do it. The first thing always is do a background check. And then the second thing is, I guess you have to decide if you want someone in your household. At our agency, we do not allow nannies who have DUIs or anything on their driving record. Their driving record has to be clean. Mm-hmm. And our belief is that it shows families their responsibility. Now, if they had a speeding ticket 10 years ago, like, we do understand things happen, not saying no one speeds, but it does go to their moral compass, their ability to follow rules, just how they perform in life. And so we don't accept that. So the family has to decide, is that okay with them? Because for some families, if they don't drive with the children in the car, maybe they're okay with that. At our agency, it's not okay. Yeah, they have to decide for themselves. But my guess is they didn't do a criminal record check, they didn't do any kind of back check.
Yeah. Well, and my thought too is if the nanny was being already employed, maybe she did pass that background check, but had this during employment. Right. I, as a parent, would want my nanny to be like, I need to talk to you.
Right.
What's happened? How do we proceed from here? Because that at least would show me that they're accountable for it, remorseful, they made a bad decision. That would need to happen if there was any chance. But again, if I were needing my kids to be driven, I don't know. That would be tough.
My guess is most nannies who get DUIs are never going to do that. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah.
They're not going to have the conversation.
I would agree with you.
But it's a tough one as the parent. But if it was me, I would let them go. Yeah. Because it shows a lack of good decision making.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Right. Next one.
Okay.
So this family has a Ring camera, as many families do, and they noticed their nanny leaving a little early from some household assisting duties, and the household assisting duties were not done. So not only were they cutting out a little earlier than they said they were, but the job wasn't getting done. So how would you handle that as a parent?
I think the first thing I always say is communication. So communication is key. And in this case, that's the same thing. I don't think they have to disclose that they have well, first of all, most people do. We do suggest that families disclose if they have cameras in the home. So they could disclose that they see the nanny leaving. But the other thing would just be to sit down and say, here are the tasks that we had for you. They've not been done. So just communicating that, and then potentially communicating we have the Ring camera and we can see you leaving, and you're not supposed to leave till 5, but we see you're leaving at 4:15, whatever it is. Now, me personally, if an employee is getting all their work done, it doesn't matter to me that they leave 15 minutes early. I'll pay them till 5 if they get all their tasks done. The issue here really is that they're not getting the tasks done, I think, probably. Yeah. So communication, sitting down with them, communicating, maybe find out if they're leaving early, it's probably not too many tasks, but maybe is it too many tasks in a day? Is there something else that's going on? Why they're not getting their work done?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This next one piggybacks on the job duties a little bit. This person said their nanny contract states light housework is part of the job duties and responsibilities. And this family's expectation was that loading the dishwasher was part of that. She's asked her nanny several times about it, but she does not do it. So how would you handle, my first thought was that needed to be a duty listed explicitly in the contract. But here we are, with this potentially not listed explicitly in the contract. How would you handle this?
Right. So I agree with you. The first thing I would say is light housekeeping is not task oriented. So everyone feels that light housekeeping is different things. Some people might feel it's vacuuming. Another nanny might think that's insane. That's not light housekeeping. So I would say each task needs to be listed. Emptying the dishwasher. I think at this point, it is a challenging scenario, because if the nanny doesn't want to do that task and never had any intention of doing that task, then it's too late for the mother to add that task. Yeah, because it wasn't clear in the beginning. I know light housekeeping is considered different, but unloading the dishwasher does fall into light housekeeping. I would say it's nothing deep, but ultimately it's up to the parent. If they sit down, have a conversation, the nanny's not willing to do the task, whether it's light housekeeping or tidying up the child's bedroom, then maybe it's not the right nanny for you.
This one's interesting. And I think the nanny market plays into this a little bit. This family said, when we started with our nanny, we were very clear that we would only pay on the books. 1 year in, she is insistent on moving to all cash and wants to avoid paying taxes. I've told her we will pay cash, but we will pay our taxes and withhold hers, and she is free to do what she wants. However, she says that won't work. I feel this is a shakedown, but in this market, I'm well aware that she can walk down the street and get a job. Is the only route to pay both of our taxes, so there's no liability.
I don't know about the liability part. That's not really how it works in Canada. Again, I'm in Canada.
Yep, and I'm in the US.
So in Canada, when you withhold the nanny's taxes, it goes straight to the government. So the nanny is paying their taxes, and the parent has to pay their taxes, and it goes straight every month. So there's no way to withhold and pay the nanny's taxes. I mean, we always say you have to pay on the books. I don't think, again, a nanny saying they want cash and they don't want to pay tax. Do you really want a nanny if your value is to pay your tax, and it kind of goes against your beliefs, one, and two, it could get the family in trouble. At least in Canada, back taxes, penalties, all of those kind of things. So that could happen. It is a tight labor market, but I don't think it's worth the risk. How about that? Could they give her a slight raise? Are they willing to keep her? If they gave her a slight raise, her net would be more. And so then maybe she'd be more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's not, it is a shakedown. When you're asking to change the contract, it is a shakedown, and it's not very ethical. They're very different things, but a DUI and asking to be paid in cash as a nanny, they're both ethical decisions. And it shows a lack of ethics.
Well, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
This next one is about nanny shares. So
nanny shares. Okay. Yeah.
So a nanny share breakup, to be exact. So in this scenario, there was a share, and the other family had a second baby recently. The mom was on maternity leave, but the first family was also due with their second baby, and they've agreed at this point that 4 kids is way too much for a nanny share. So they have decided to go their separate ways. However, they are now fighting over the nanny. Both families want to keep the nanny. They, family A says, we've been the host family for 2 years, and we believe that, I'm going into labor any minute, and it's unreasonable for us to find another nanny at this point. Well, meanwhile, the second mom is on maternity leave, and then there's all the, what if we have to scramble? What if the new nanny's not a good fit? So what do you recommend? How would you approach
Okay. I don't know if you do as an agency. We do not help with nanny shares. We have found that there are so many scenarios that happen during nanny shares that are just so hard to predict. This is one of them. I've actually never heard this scenario before. I think bottom line, it comes down to the nanny, does it not? The nanny has a choice in this about which family she prefers to work for, or he, I think you said she, but which family they prefer to work for. So ultimately it's up to the nanny and what they're offering. Really, they're in a, we have it happen all the time between families. We have multiple families who want one nanny, and that one nanny, then there's a bit of a bidding war, so to speak. And whoever the family is who offers the most with the best job description that the nanny likes, that's where the nanny goes. So I think in this case, it's that. Ultimately, it's not up to the parents. It's up to the nanny to go where they want.
I will also share the nanny, the family had mentioned the nanny was like, love you guys both. I would be happy in either scenario. So the nanny was like very much, Switzerland on this. So I will actually share with you what happened. They went back to their contract. They went back to their contract, which I recommended doing. And the contract actually stated whoever made first contact with the nanny. So whether that's the first family who met the nanny, who interviewed the nanny, who reached out, so it turned out that the first family actually had the right. Contractually.
I like that in the contract. That's very smart. I like it. It's a good ad. So that's great. But we don't deal with nanny shares. I know there's a lot of them, but I've seen so many. Like you, we get people emailing us, asking us for our opinion, and so many different nanny scenarios for nanny shares that have gone wrong.
It's true. They're just
when it works, it's great.
It's true. It is a great setup, but there are so many moving parts. And as a result, some nannies just know that they don't want to work with two sets of parents.
But a lot of nannies, I see a lot of nannies who say they want to work with both. With nanny shares, because ultimately they make more money. So if nannies are experienced in it, then it can work quite well.
All right, I've saved the best for last. This is the most weird thing I've ever heard. And it really happened to a family that I worked with, and we just both were scratching our heads. We couldn't figure out a rational explanation for that. The family was at the park actually with their recently, well, they didn't hire her, it was a trial, but they were doing a trial with a nanny. So mom had the infant and nanny was in charge of the toddler, and they were all at the park together. And the family had brought a picnic lunch for the toddler. And I'm not sure, where the nanny's meal fell into it, if she was just joining for a few hours, so they didn't. I don't know that piece. But what happened was mom was kind of away with the baby and the toddler was kind of playing and nanny was at the picnic table. Well, the nanny picks up the toddler's peanut butter and jelly sandwich and takes a bite out of it and puts it back. And the mom sees all this and the nanny doesn't know the mom has seen all this. And the mom asks the nanny about that later and the nanny completely denied it.
Oh my gosh.
So
I've never heard of, especially on a trial. I would say especially on a trial. That is supposed to be your, just any job. Doesn't matter, nanny, any job you're applying for, when you're on your first day, first week trial, you're supposed to be on your best behavior. That's supposed to be the best you will ever be is in that time. So that is a little bit out there. I hope she didn't hire the nanny. I guess that's the first thing. And then, lying, one, really bad. Two, eating the toddler's food. I will tell you, and again, we don't know the whole scenario, how long the nanny was there for, if she was told it was going to be over lunch, all sorts of things. I will tell you, we have had several scenarios where nannies have contacted us to complain that they were at a family's house for 8, 9, 10 hours when they were only supposed to be there for 4. They were starving. They took a banana. The family wasn't happy. There's been other scenarios like that I've seen over the years. And so maybe this nanny was like, I didn't know I was going to be out at the park without my lunch. I'm starving. I'll just take a bite. Still maybe did it happen before COVID? Even in these times,
No, it happened since, March of 2020.
So we've all learned this is not appropriate behavior anymore. And that's an odd one. But I have heard the other side where clients have called us to complain that the nanny ate a banana or ate something out of their fridge when they weren't invited to, which is not acceptable. But at the same time, the nanny's like, I was supposed to be there for 4. They kept me for 9. I was starving. I didn't bring any food because I thought I'd be home by 1. So it can work that way. And then the other thing we do say to families is, although providing meals is not a requirement of hiring a nanny, it is industry standard. standard
Yeah.
for the nanny to be able to go into your fridge and make herself something or themselves something to eat. That's pretty industry standard. So if you're not offering, making it clear to the nanny to bring their own food is important. Yeah.
It goes back to communication,
Yeah.
which is so important.
Always communication on what your expectations are. And people think it's really simple things like a meal, and families will say to us, well, of course the nanny is going to bring their meal. I wouldn't expect anything else. And we're like, no, but the poor families they worked for before you provided their meals. I think it's just a lack of understanding what to communicate, and just the guess that it's really clear.
Well, and I think too, it's important to point out that, you know, if families are working with a nanny for the first time, they don't really know. Meanwhile, the nanny, you know, they've worked with families and they have a sense of how it works better than the family does. So, so yeah, sometimes.
And we do tell nannies that too. Yeah, we tell nannies to, you know, you may have to be the one who educates the family on this one, make suggestions, ask for sit down so you can have communications once a week. Sometimes the nanny has to lead that. Unfortunately.
Yep. We couldn't figure out a logical reason, you know, that she would do that and then, you know, not be forthcoming, but you know, there's some good context there. There's obviously more going on that we aren't aware of. Thank you so much. I love all the answers. And
thanks for having me. They weren't too terrifying. I've seen a lot. So.
I think that there are many iterations of these specific 6 scenarios that, you know, crossed paths with before. They're not unique to, you know, these happen. So I want to reiterate that, you know, this, I know this, families may not know this, but these types of things happen. So, so if you're ever in a similar scenario, now you have some context.
Exactly.
Yes. And I thank you so much for your time. This was really fun. And maybe I'll start collecting more awkward scenarios and we'll do this again.
Thanks for having me. And another one we could do is nanny scenarios.
Yes.
Things that nannies have done the other way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did a video blog recently where we discussed, you know, like things your nanny's thinking, but you know, won't say out loud. And there are some good ones. It's like, you know, just if you go on some of the nanny forums, it's like, that really happened.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So those are fun too.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for your time.
Thanks,
and
Laura.
enjoy your day, okay?
Thanks. You
All
too.
right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.